Hi everyone, it is so nice to be back and talking to you guys again. And today I'm going to talk about test taking strategies because exams are literally just around the corner. And I feel like I don't always do well on my tests, but when I do well on my tests, there's definitely a pattern about how I either prepared for the test or how I wrote the test and my feelings going into the test. So first things first, preparation. I totally get it. Sometimes I leave things to the absolutely last minute and I'm up till 3 or 4 in the morning studying. But this year and this final time, during this final time, I have attempted to really try to prepare myself and get everything organized ahead of time so the day before the exam that I have that real full day to go over everything. I am prepared and I'm not trying to catch up on doing readings. That being said, also another really important thing is try to get at least some sleep and you'll feel better, you'll feel more vitalized, and your brain will be working at its optimal capacity rather than just lagging through a test and hoping that you are reading something properly or understanding things. Nothing is worse than going into a test and reading something and it not making any sense at all and asking a professor or invigilator and then just rereading the question back to you and you still have no idea what it means. So that would be the first thing that I found, that when I'm successful, I've gotten a lot of sleep and I've been organized ahead of time. And then the next thing is going into your finals. I just want to remind everyone, I'm sure everyone knows, but bring your student card. I've seen so many students have to leave their exams and go and buy a student ID card for their test, and they've had to come in and write their test late, and that is just absolutely horrible and unnecessary and causes so much more stress than you on top of already what you're feeling. My next piece of advice is also when you're filling out your Scantron, make sure your student number's on there, all that good stuff, the version, so that there's no confusion. The worst thing that could possibly happen is your Scantron going as a different version and come up that you got 40%, and it's not like you can easily go and see your final and you don't really know what your final mark was, so that is really important. And then this is what I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way. When I'm looking at a test, usually your gut feeling is the right answer. Even if things don't really make sense to you, just pick the first thing that pops out at you. And when you're going through everything again, and I'm the absolute worst for this, if you think you don't really know and you think, oh, it's between C and D, and you've circled C as because your gut was telling you C, but you're like, maybe it's D, so you change it to D. That never works. From personal experience, I have managed to really mess up a lot of tests because I have literally just changed my answers, and if I had left the answer that my gut told me to choose, I would have had a much higher mark and been much more successful in the test. And then the last thing is, and what I always do, and I see so many people not do it, and maybe they do okay, but I've caught so many mistakes I've made, is I go through and I always make sure I circle the answer onto the question booklet and to my Scantron. So the first thing, my first check is I go through and I check that number one, if it's C, that I've circled one C, and I go through each one. And then what I do is right before I hand it in, I count the Scantron and I count and make sure that the number of things I've circled are equal to how many questions were on the test. And I've always done that and I never really caught anything. And then on my last test, I caught that I had filled my numbers in one number too high, and it would have put off all of my numbers from that point on, all of my answers. So I mean, if you have the time, it's something that's so simple for you to do to check that could save you from a huge mistake. And I really get it. Once you finish that exam, you want nothing more than to just get out of that room and to be done with the course. But just by doing those little things, it will really help you. And lastly, always remember, if a test has gone really bad, don't let it sit and eat away at at your soul because you're probably taking up time that you could use to write or study another exam, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about whatever you just wrote before. And I've really learned that the hard way. I've let things eat away at me, and then I've gotten my mark back, and there was really nothing to worry about. And even if there is, it can't be dealt with until you know what your mark is anyway. So I really hope that helps. I first say, all my tests don't always go well, but when they do, that is what I do. And I always make sure that I have all my pencils and all my pens, and some people bring highlighters and they highlight keywords. So whatever works for you, you owe it to yourself. You've worked really, really hard this semester to finish strong and to do well on your exams, and you certainly don't deserve to not do well because of silly little mistakes that could have been prevented. So I really, really wish you all the best. I hope you have a wonderful summer, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.